Hello and welcome. I'm going to speak about knocking on security's door, but this is not going to be a Bob Dylan or Guns N' Roses song-related thingy. This is rather going to be a discussion about the collaboration between UX and security. So just let's dive into it. We are going to cover who am I, but also a little bit on who are you, because I need to know. I'm going to give you a little bit of context so that you understand why am I here, why am I speaking about this stuff. And then we will cover security's perspective, and we are going to reflect on that from the UX perspective. After that, we are going to see how these two can collaborate, and we will have some takeaways. With that, until we are loading my introduction, just let me ask a few questions. Is there any IT security professional here in the room? Cool. Is there any, dumb question, engineers in the room? Yeah, cool. Is there any UX researchers, designers, UX people? Oh, amazing, I just love to see you here. And is there anybody else that was not listed before, but they are still here? Cool, welcome. Very good. Now, with that said, let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm Dora Makszy, and I was wondering about giving this talk in Norwegian because I live here for 2 years now, but I rather go for English because it will be a bit quicker. I'm still learning the language, so that's okay. I'm head of design at Element Logic. We are dealing with warehouse logistics systems and robotics and automating logistics systems. But this is not why I'm here, and that's why you will need a context. So as said, I was born in Hungary, but I'm very happily living in Norway. And I started my career as a UI developer, so I saw some code before, just to be sure. But then I got blown away by management, especially project management. It was very interesting for me to see that, okay, we actually have a budget, we have a timeline, and we have to deliver within that, and then we can consider our project to be successful. As you can tell, I was not quite happy with it, therefore I ended up in design. Now, I wrote their digital product design for a reason. I don't know if you knew, but other than Nordic countries, this is rather called as product design, what you are calling UX. But as many other things in Norway, for example, this is more logical. So forgive me, but I wrote their digital product design, but also just for teaching you something. But I will go with UX. Raise your hands if you know all of these abbreviations. UX, DS, IA, A11Y, DX, CX. Nobody raised their hand. Okay, UX, fairly easy, user experience. DS, design systems. Those are the design components and component libraries that designers are using to build up feature designs and deliver our designs to you, developers. IA, information architecture. Probably this is what many engineers heard about, but we, designers, are coming from a little bit different angle. This is rather a language that transmits messages between business requirements and design and engineering, and this is how we can refer to certain parts and logical processes within the product. A11Y, accessibility. If you are developing an accessible product that is usable by those people who are living with disabilities, then your product will be usable for everyone else. So accessibility is key when delivering a product. Just look it up. DX, developer experience. When I'm designing, one of my key initiatives is to give you, engineers, a very well-documented, very high-quality design file so that you, as engineers, can go through it, understand your way around it without even asking me. Obviously, the more we talk, the better. But still, that is the aim, because then I was able to provide you with proper documentation. CX, customer experience. There are some products where your end user might not be your customer who is paying for your product. When you are running UX research, for example, it's crucial that the customer who you are communicating with have a very good perception of you, because then they can help to guide you to the proper direction, the proper end user, and so your UX research will be even better than without their help. We could hear multiple amazing talks today already about UX research. This is a preliminary factor that might be very useful to have very good relationship with your customers. With that said, I'm also into collaboration. And when I'm speaking about collaboration, I start to wonder. Many big talks that you can find on the internet saying that communication is key. Yeah, sure, but what about listening? You want to listen to your users and understand what they are telling you, because consciously or not, they will share a lot of pain points with you. And if you listen carefully enough, you just zip it and just listen, you will gain a whole bunch of information that will help you to deliver an even better product. With that said, I'm here to share knowledge and listen to some knowledge and gain some knowledge and to have fun. And this is what I wish for you as well. With that said, I have to speak about the product trio. I don't know if you've heard about the product trio concept that is made by Teresa Torres, and that says that engineering, responsible for feasibility, product, responsible for viability, and UX, responsible for usability, they should be equally involved in product development, so that when they are bringing their A game, they are providing value for the user. This is highly relevant. And this is where I'm coming from. This is the mindset that we have at Element Logic, and that is what I would recommend you to consider when developing a product. With that said, we are changing sections to context. What am I talking about here? I don't know, probably you don't know much about Hungarian banking ecosystems, but this is one of the most strictly regulated area in Europe, if not the world. The Hungarian National Bank has a whole bunch of regulations around financials. That was one very important piece of information. The other is that in Hungary exists a company that provides invoicing ecosystem for companies. That is fully legal, everything is done properly. They have hundreds of thousands of clients. Now the founders of this company just figured that, okay, we have this invoicing company with hundreds of thousands of clients. What if we are creating our own banking system? We already will have hundreds of thousands of clients in our other project. Okay, let's do it. So in 2017, they started to work around on this bank mobile application, mobile and desktop application, this financial ecosystem. And within just a couple of years, I think it was 7, they established this banking application. And last year, they entered the Hungarian market. So they worked their way through strict regulations. They are okay with audits and compliance and all the legal stuff. They are providing secure solutions. They have to, because their users are providing them with their most sensitive data. And for that, they also have to provide stability within that application. Now, one teeny tiny thing is still missing, and that was UX. So they provided a solution that was okay, but I wouldn't say that it was usable. It was somewhat okay. Therefore, the product was not an instant success. It was successful, but it was not boosting the hundreds of thousands of users from the other company. So they figured that, okay, security is crucial. Of course, not only in banking, but we are talking about banking here. Because your users are trusting you with their most sensitive data. If their data is lost, your credibility is done. Good luck building it back up. Because the financial data is the main target of most frauds, therefore, compliance is just inevitable. It's crucial. You have to do it. When we are speaking about that, we have to go and ask for security. Now, probably most of you know that there are 4 major authentication methods, one of them being the password, right? Probably all of you could see yellow post-its next to the displays or users using 123456 as password. So probably you can tell that this is not the strongest solution of all. So we have multi-factor authentication as well, where you combine this password with something else so that the user can actually validate that, yes, they are the ones who want to log in. We also have 3DS, 3-domain security, which is rather for validating a transfer, a money transfer, because the issuer, the one who is actually transferring the money or want to transfer the money, the acquirer who is getting the money, and the in-between layer, they are communicating through this 3DS protocol. And finally, we do have biometry. Now, here, accessibility comes into the picture. I will refer to it later on, but just imagine that without using Face ID or iris check, and the older method was to use your fingerprint. Now, I don't know about you, but back in Hungary, the teachers are still using chalk to write on boards. And the chalk can just erase your fingerprints. So you will need some fallback solution for that. And security, they do have a few principles to follow up on when establishing a product. The first one is defense of depth. So security people will go for multiple level of security protection. Your solution has to be fail-safe, and you should grant access only on the level that is most required to that given user. So not every access to everybody. You should be very careful of that. And then there is the separation of duties. We will reflect that later. Imagine a situation when you have a company, you are the owner of the company, and in the company there is an accountant who is responsible for your finances. Now, if the accountant, their only role is to transfer money or just handle the invoices, they will need a secondary signature from you as the owner who had the most rights out of this company so that they can validate the process. There is the economy mechanism, which is keeping security quite simple, and we are getting toward UX. This is where security attempts to become very user-friendly. You should always re-evaluate the identity of your user. So, for example, when you are switching on your mobile phone between applications, then you should just run a new Face ID check, for example. And then open design, proven transparent standards to be used, least common mechanism to avoid shared resources to reduce security risk, meaning that you should not reuse all the data every time. You should separate it. Psychological acceptability, so that your security efforts are effortless for the user. Again, going towards UX. Weakest link, a system is only as secure as its weakest link, which means that you as a security professional or you as an engineer should think of, okay, my weakest piece of information should be secure enough so the rest is safe as well. Leveraging existing components, reuse trusted part, prevent risks. With all that said, we can say that effective security must be invisible and intuitive. And with this intuitiveness, we are now entering the UX section. I'm going to reflect from the UX perspective to the very same that we were going through for security. So for passwords, I, as a UX designer, had to think of how do I make it the most understandable for the dumbest user so that they can provide me with a proper password. I should educate them. With a multi-factor authentication, I should guide the user through the steps as smoothly as possible. It should feel like, yeah, it's natural that you're logging in and you have to use your mobile phone and just go back into your desktop and whatnot. For the 3DS, we want to keep all of these flows, transferring money, as trustworthy and as simple as possible, because people are actually transferring their money. They should trust the system. So for example, for this bank, we created a solution. Let me start from a different angle. So in Hungary, banks are using a standard design for showing the customer that right now money is transferred. It's ugly, to be honest. So with this bank, we redesigned it so the user actually feels that they are staying in the same ecosystem. We reuse the same look and feel. It's just customization, but based on the feedback coming from the users, they felt that they didn't step out of the process. They felt that they are still part of the process, and they felt more secure when transferring money. Biometry set expectations and ensures smooth fallbacks. So for example, with this teacher example, we definitely need to provide them with a fallback solution. For example, a simple password, right? If the reader cannot read your fingerprint, so that you can give your password to the system. And we are acting as an actual shield. So when it comes to difference in depth, we provide seamless and consistent solutions. At least this is our aim. So when I speak in present conditional, that please understand that this is an aim, and this is not a statement that every designer does this. This is an aim for every designer. We are providing clear error messages so that the users are informed well that, okay, this has happened. This is the solution that will guide you through it. And if they do, the solution is done. And that's it. They will trust the system again. We should provide the users with clear, intuitive, role-based access and permissions. Again, if you are only an accountant in a company and you just need to transfer money, then you only need the rights for this. But if we design this whole set of rights and accesses in a way that that person can oversee the rest of the accesses and what they contain, it's just disabled for them. And they realize that, okay, if I would have more rights, then I could make the processes smoother and faster for the company. I could basically self-service my way through this. Then we are providing enough information for this user to provide reasoning to the boss, to give her better access, and therefore they are already self-servicing and fastening up their processes. And this is just by informing them. This goes the same for separation of duties, but in a different way. Again, if we need to sign a transfer, for example, if they can reason, these accountants can reason that, no, you don't need a top-level manager for every signature to have every transaction go through, they will need to make the manager understand that why it is better for them. Maybe they cannot, but there are clear information laid down in the application. Economy of mechanism, settings are simple, easy to configure. Probably I don't need to move forward. Complete mediation, re-authentication is clear. They can easily log back into the system. Open design, there are transparent protections, not revealing exploitable details. Least common mechanism, user roles are separated and limit share controls. Psychological acceptability, The security steps are natural and non-intrusive. Again, when I, as a simple retail user, want to transfer money, I open up my application, I enter the digits and the comment for the transfer, and I just look into the camera of my phone, and bam, my transaction is done. And probably this is not my place to speak about financial mobile applications in Norway, because your solutions are quite advanced. But in Hungary, this was a thing. This was a revelation that yes, we can do this. We can just utilize the functions of a smartphone, and we can trust the system. Weakest link, risky actions highlighted, secure alternatives simplified, and leveraging existing components, familiar, trusted security frameworks integrated. So just let us see how security and UX can collaborate together. Because it's very nice hearing it separately, but what happens when they actually collaborate? We can finally protect our users if we are going hand in hand from day one. That's why I drew up the product trio in the beginning, because in this sense, security professionals are part of engineering. They are bringing feasibility and security perspective to the picture when we are discussing a product. And if they do it from day one, we as UX designers can also bring some thoughts around how could it be usable. So this is a completely different mindset. If you think about it, if you're developing stuff in a waterfall model, it's just product managers and architects are telling you what to design, and then you design it, and then the engineer develops it, and at the end, when there is QA and compliance, then they hold a sign that, hey, no, it won't comply. It won't go through QA. It won't go to App Store or Google Play, because it's not compliant. That is why it's very, very important that in the beginning, hand in hand, we stand there and we discuss the different aspects. And we just discuss, okay, this is how we can protect the users. All right, with this mindset, I can design stuff. I already thought about biometry and 3DS and whatnot. And so it goes smoothly through the process. Real life example being, when I joined this company last year, my first task was to deliver the whole card processes. So whenever you are using your bank card, TouchPay, whatever, the bank card, you're buying stuff on the internet, in the grocery store, and that is using 3DS protocol. Now, when I joined that company, I knew nothing about banking. I was just a retail banking application user. So when I read the specification coming from the product managers, I just felt that something is missing. But anyway, I designed a whole feature, and when I got to the point when the money transfer was triggered, a light bulb hit me, luckily not, but above my head. And then I raised my hand and told the rest of the people in the team that, yeah, well, some sort of authentication or something, and then, oh, we haven't thought of that. Come on, you established the whole freaking specification to the banking application and you haven't thought of that. I cannot believe you. Anyway, we put biometry and 3DS in the Figma design, and then they could develop it, and it was one of the smoothest deliveries in the history of this bank. What's beyond the launch? When you let security/engineering and design work together, you can just cut the operational costs. How do you do that? There will be a significant drop in the support calls, the number of support calls, because users are self-aware, confident, and they can self-service across your platform. They can do whatever they want, and they feel it. And when they feel it, they are willing to use your banking application more and more and more and transfer more money. So with the drop of support calls we are also raising the number of transactions and amount of money that is going through the banking application. That is what's happening when you let these professionals work together from day one. How can we learn from each other? We can run workshops. Security teams can teach us designers on different principles, how do they work in action. As you can probably tell, I was reading majority of these principles, and this is because I'm not that familiar with those. I'm not a security professional. I heard of these, I used some of these, but I could not go into detail. Now, with these workshops, in a few months, I would be able to do that. And that is so cool to learn something outside of your expertise area, because then your perspective just opens up and you find something even better, even new to deal with. And I don't know, probably this is just, no, probably it's not just me because you're all here in a knowledge sharing session, but it's so cool to learn something. And the designers can also teach the security professionals to think with the user's head, right? It's so easy to dig your head in your code and just don't think about anything else. But then when you're going out for a field research, or when you are talking to actual customers, or when you are raising a few questions, you start to realize that, hey, these are human beings. I have to consider them, and I have to take care of them. And as one of the speakers brilliantly said, the engineers and the security people and the rest of the team members, they start to refer to the users by name. They start empathizing with the user, and that is key to understanding how this works in practice. Because then this is not just an abstract thing to fulfill UX and put a tick next to it. Yeah, we delivered something and UX was done. No, this is actually living and breathing that product that you're about to deliver. And this is how you can become a better professional, if you understand what you are doing and why you are doing it. I'm getting very emotional, am I? Anyway, testing. If you're going testing together with your UX fella, then you're going to find that it will help you to gain insights and feedback that will help you in the end to implement better solutions. And if you do it together, it will be like, you know, the Tom and Jerry cartoons back in the days when there was this little devil and the little angel. It's like security and UX. And they are teaming up and yeah, telling you that we should do this. No, we should consider the user. Oh, we should do this. Yeah, it might work. So it's very, very fun to go together for testing sessions. And finally, implementing design thinking into your processes. It's like, I don't know, when I started to do this, it felt like I'm not working. Because it was like, I'm sitting, ideating, brainstorming, thinking about possible solutions, even outside the box. Let me tell you a quick story. At my current Norwegian company, so not this bank, I do have a wonderful product manager, Pierre. And he usually starts the assumption mapping and brainstorming by putting post-its on the canvas stating that a T-Rex would do this, a T-Rex would do that. And with that T-Rex example, he basically grabs us out from our comfort zone and forces us to think creatively. So I can just recommend that solution because design thinking is like fun for money, right? It's very, very nice. Okay, summary way ahead of time, so probably you will have very nice coffees out there. Few takeaways. If you remember something, just remember these. Collaboration, again, listening, understanding what the other is saying to you, and then reflecting to that is key. If you let UX and IT work together, IT security work together from day one, you will be able to provide usable and still safe solution. UX reduces risks, but this goes together. The next one is that UX is only a supporting role. And it's very important that I'm not highlighting that without UX you will have no proper product. No, this is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you might want to consider involving UX when developing a product, because we can add the user's perspective, we can advocate for your users, and if you are considering what we are bringing to your table, then your users might love your products better, and at the end of the day, the users/customers are the ones who are paying for your product, so it might be worth it, I guess. Layers. Most security threats come from system vulnerabilities, and UX can complement to safeguard these. Outcome: strong security and excellent UX are achieved when usability and protection go hand in hand. Again, I'm advocating for teamwork, but strong security is one of the most important when developing a banking application. And it's very important to say out loud that security is only as strong as its usability. With that said, I thank you for your attention. If you are interested in the slides, just check them out. If you want to reach out to me, I'm available on LinkedIn. And thank you.